Welcome everybody, my name is Fani Renders again, and I'm coming again to... There we go, now I can speak. Welcome, this is another try I'm gonna do this stream. So what we're gonna be doing is going to do some live coding. Just checking if everything is online. Right, so welcome. In the previous episodes we had some technical difficulties, but hopefully now it should be sorted out. So let's actually try and start the show. That's not working, that button, but in any case. So, now the music has stopped. There we go. We've got some sounds. Getting into the flow of things. Are you ready, guys? Okay, so let's start. Previously, our previous two episodes, what we did was trying to convert a monolithic application to a native serverless application. A monolithic application meaning a application that is written VB.NET, desktop technologies, 10 year plus. What we're going to be doing now is to retry our third episode in showing you guys what we've done so far. And I just got a chat from Martin van Stam. Don't do what, Martin? OMG. Thank you for chatting with me in there. You can be my wingman if you would like. By the way, is the is the sound quality alright? Because I'm actually going a bit blind now. Hopefully everything is fine. Now it's fine. Now, I wonder now. Alright, so we have the customer model. So this is the solution. So I've decided to start working on the customer management part of the solution, just to give you some heads up on how the solution is set up for now. Like I said, this is a quick recap as well. The idea of this session was not to sort of try and jump into the code that much, but it was much rather to do a recap and to align everyone again what we're trying to do. So I'm just going to quickly skip this song because the song is actually a bit distracting. So let's play some chill songs. This is from Fingers by and it's called It's Over. Alright, so if we go to the Jobcard vNext repository, we have plenty of assets that we can choose from, and we've started with the second episode to do this kind of solutions architecture. And so the idea is to start off with the customer's microservice, if you may, and we will focus in implementing that. It's just a normal CRUD using table storage for now. Yes, so that's basically what this is. And I've started making some progress on it. I've got my solution here on the right hand side. I have a CS proj, normal CS proj, a custom functions, or serverless functions CS proj. And I've divided the solution into, or the project rather, into separate folders, entities. In this case, only one custom entity. And I've decided to split my functions in separate classes. So one for create, one for get single, one for maybe get single in, and get many should be in one. But all the CRUDs, separate functions, I would say. And then we have models. Each function could have its own model as well. Let me see if this is working fine. Okay. And if everything is up and running, we would, let me just see here. So what we have is make sure that the storage emulator, because we're connecting to local storage or to Azure storage, to run it locally, you would need this storage emulator to run. I should have it running. Let me just double check that. Otherwise you can just go to your start menu and search for the storage, Azure storage emulator, and just execute that background task. And then I use this nifty tool called the Azure Storage Explorer, which you can also download on the internet. Is the chat also active? Well, yes, the chat is active, just sadly through a bot, but it's working. But I'm glad you're watching, Martin. That's a good thing. To be honest, I have no idea what was wrong with my technical setup. All I know, it just works again. All right. Okay, so looking at the Storage Explorer, we have all our subscriptions, and then we also have this local and attached ones. That's purely used for local ones. Yeah, I know, Martin, this is through YouTube, but it links to Restream, Twitch, everywhere. We want to go to this storage account one. There we can see the emulator one. And if we expand tables, there should be a table called customers. Just want to adjust this volume a bit. Like that. I should be still, you guys can still hear me there, right? So just gonna continue like that. How's the music, by the way? Should we pick for something more upbeat? It puts in comment dupes. Oh, yeah. We have to live with it, I suppose. What's a synthesize? Oh no. Let's just see. Upbeat. Yeah, well, okay. So this is our storage. Here we go. So what I normally do is I open the HTTP folder. There's a requests.http file. I normally open that with Visual Studio Code. I've probably had it open before. Oh gosh, let's just open it again. Right. And I use this in the context of like a sort of a postman. I never use postman again. I have this extension in VS Code installed. It's called REST client. It's quite cool. It allows you to store your requests in a file, which is probably like a readable, like this, and then just execute them. So now what I'm going to be doing is showcase the work I've done so far. And whenever that runs, looks like it takes a while. While that's running on, we can do some epic stuff. Okay, now it's running. So it's starting up the function, and we see there's there are two endpoints rather, post and a get, that I've implemented. We have the create customer and the get single customer, and it's all running locally on localhost 7071. Just to prove a point, if I then go to the instance, like this one, API customers post, if I just post without any additional things, it kind of complains. Now there's some validation that I need to do there. But in any case, I need to pass in a tenant ID because customers are tenant specific, because we're sharing one big table, and the partition key is actually the tenant ID that we're going to be using. Moving back here is the partition key and the row key. And maybe just to point out, Martin, no. Just to point out that there's a difference between a row key and a ID. As you can see, there's an ID there. Now, ID identifies the business entity, and the row key just identifies the row in the table. And the partition key is just a grouping of them. So this ID is totally used for business purposes and also identify the entity within the scope of the partition. We'll get to that in a later sec. All right, so let's include this tenant ID and pass in the type of person, ID number, that's a business entity, and I send this request. And I get a customer already exists, and this is where the tenant ID is helpful, or sorry, the ID is helpful, because my function already checks for that identifier to prevent a customer that has that same identity for that same partition to be added. So in code, this is what happens. This is the single one. Let us see. So this is it tries to grab the tenant ID. We can probably make use of more validation here, and it tries and gets a it does a table query on the partition key, which is the tenant ID, and also the ID that I've passed in. And if there are any items that matches that criteria, I want to send back a 401 or 400 request, saying it's a bad request. Otherwise, we just want to create the person into the database. So for now we just delete this. Should actually have unit tests for these kind of things. I'm time boxing my episode to maximum 45 minutes. Alright. So let's add this person. And if I execute it, I get a 201 created, and it will return the entity that was created for my usages with its ID. And it also, hey, look at that, it's also returning the location of my entity. So I can literally copy and paste this URL as is. I can execute it. Also given the tenant ID, I can go send. And it brings me back my ID. So this is as simple as it can get. So let's add some stuff to it. We go back to our repository. Just want to make sure everything is fine on the stream. Looks fine. All right. What do we want to recreate? I said previously we wanted to create a mechanism to serve company customers, also private customers. So we sort of need to make the distinction between the customer type. So we either have a company type or a person type. So let's quickly assume a company type and add these fields to the identity. So we'll need account number and name, I would say. Now let's call it company name. So where do we start? I would say that we create a new class called company model. And that can inherit from a customer model. What do we have in a customer model? We have the ID of the company, which is the registration number. We have the it's get difficult here. We always have tenant ID, we have customer ID, and we have the row ID and the type. Now we get to the specifics. Let me see. Account number. Then we have, okay, registration number is already been in there. I wonder if we should set it as registration number. We will probably set it the same thing. Let's assign that to will that serialize? We have that registration number, And then directors. I wonder we should make a collection of directors instead of having fixed amount of directors. Yeah, I think that's maybe a better idea. So let's make another one here. It's going to be interesting because the next challenge would be to how many directors of a company would you have. In this case it supports 4, but we want actually n number of directors, name and ID numbers. You see full name and ID numbers. Can we use key value store maybe? I think actually by because the problem with this is that we can save it. The problem is if we save it in storage, we need to sort of do interesting things with it before serializing it back again. But that's not a big thing. All right. We have directors. We need the manager's name. And then we could say the same for addresses, right? Postal and residential. We'll just keep them separate for now. Actually, I think we should not make this difficult. Let's call this director 1 name, and we can duplicate this for now. One, two, oh, 2, 3, 4. Right. We have the directors, and we can actually let go of this. We will refactor it later. Telephone 1 to add cell. You see, it's actually a bit difficult doing a kind of a CRM because things is actually need to be kind of flexible, you know. I'm sure C# Fritz will beat me in this. So the aim is just to recreate what we have, I think. So we'll call mobile. And fax, who uses fax anymore? All right. Some of these properties can actually go on the customer itself, because they are shared with a private individual. So from ID number down. Postal address, all these can go out, and I suppose that could go to the customer model. Yeah. So you have a company model, company name, which you also have a customer name, also have account number, right? So account number and registration number, which is the ID number. Let's pop that in there. Don't make this difficult. So the difference between this and this is you have the VAT, and the rest are the same. Great, so we're making progress. Okay. So we're either returning a normal customer or we're returning a company. So let's see. So and obviously, when creating a company, there are more fields that are required in that case. So let's test it out. So first things first, on our post, thank you, Gerald. It's streaming and it's working. Of course it's working. It's my stream. And by the way, Martin, this is on 60 frames per second. Hopefully the quality is still good. Using Ubiquiti routers. Internet is great, I hope. So I'm not doing validate if tenant is. We will do that still later. No, I did not buy a new PC. I just upped the bitrate, and I've stopped the local recording because I don't think my PC can handle all those goodness and all those awesomeness at once. I'm getting like duplicate chats in, but that's fine. Shouldn't be too much of an issue. This is actually a trial run for my previous episode, but fine. Okay, so we have the tenant ID, logging new customer created. What are we going to do? So now we're validating if the, let's just do this, check if the customer already exists, and then there's a new customer. And now we need to do a few other checks here. If the type, so we're getting post a customer entity, so if oh, actually it's a model, right? So input. If the type, but why is this? Oh, this is on new customer level. I see. Okay. If the type is if it's a person, no, this one. So if it's a person, I need to do 3 viewers. I've got 3 viewers, yay! Let me actually put this in perspective. I've got 3 viewers. Attention everybody, 3 is awesome. That's my voices. Almost getting close to Fritz. In any case, let's focus on the code. Right. What are we doing? We want to see if this customer that we're getting in, where's my if it's a company, I need to do special validation. So let's just do the validations first. So we need name, ID, and postal addresses, and residential addresses, and at least one telephone. So let's see. Let's actually do one like that. So we'll refactor later. So we say if input. Yeah, I now need these other inputs. We will not have that. We will have customer ID. Now I'm all over the show, yeah. Is this now the ID? Okay, so that's the ID. No singing allowed. Oh well, okay, fine. Name, account number, postal address, residential address. We're posting all these things. So technically, I'm posting a customer model. I wonder if I can do like validations. Let's just do it by hand now and see what happens. Maybe my friend Jan de Vries can help me out on that. Would be cool to use component-based validations here. In any case, what needs to be valid? So the name, ID number, obviously. Postal or residential. Should make a error list or something to return a like a new dictionary. And that can be a list of stuff, right? Let's just call it like that. Name is required. ID number. Type is kind of inferred, right? I suppose, eh? I should do a function on this to say report required or something. ID number. Well, we can do a function that does this. Trying to prove a concept. Let's say telephone 1. Alright, so obviously this is very bad code. I don't think I've got time to continue for the rest of the things, but let's just say if errors any, I want to return a bad object result with errors. See if that works. It's running. All right, so let's see. Just want to create 88. Post this. It should now return a 400 or not. There we go. This is what I want. Okay, so I actually need an object in there, but for now this is fine. Name is required, residential address, telephone. But why not the other ones? Because I'm checking, okay. Put the type, name, ID, and I check the postal address, residential address, and telephone. Right. The logical way is to do a function that does this validation. Yeah, that's better. Postal address, residential address, telephone 1, etc. So that's in place. So I think the next episode we'll be building a validation helper that will help us to solve the validations. I wonder if there's let's see. That's fine, that's what I want. Does this contain a aha. I have this validator. Try validate object. Cool. Where do I get that? Validator. That's what I want. I want a validator. It's go to this guy's source code and see what I can find. Validate function, validatable extension method, validator. Cool. Let's see if we can use that. That sounds very interesting, because obviously we can skip the line and just do requireds. ID we need, name is required, account number is required. I think the postal address is also required, right? Postal and residential. And one telephone. Mobile I would say as well, but fine. There's no email. Maybe we can say email. Just to be cool. Make email. And then once we are having that, how did this guy solve it? He has validation results. Cool. So let's do that. I'm gonna put it here. Got that. That's fine. Now I need to actually. This needs to go beyond this. It needs to go here, I would say. Because I have the input. And then the validation context is what? The body, or input actually. Okay. Okay, well, maybe most probably can take this out. And let's see. So if it's not valid, let's return the result. Let's see if that works. I did not know about the validator. Obviously need to close my function. Alright, so let's just execute and see. Great. Same concept, less code. This is awesome. There we go. Now we have member names. Oh, this is the actual object. Interesting. Member names, name, error message. Cool. Cool. So let's say I actually pass in an email. And I just do like that. I should get an email. Which is, look at that. Email address is not valid, which is quite cool. Alright, so I think that is the lesson for today, is actually awesome. And a bit annoying, but fine. It's quite cool. So what I'm doing is getting the object, Then I have a validation result. F12 into that thing. It has an error message with member names. And then I most probably can do something else with that, but this. Let's see, so that expects a validation result. Yeah. So in any case, I validate it, and if it's not valid, I return a bad request object. So I suppose I can also do the check whether it's existing or not in there as well by implementing a validator object. And I wonder if that is also the case, because that would be actually quite cool. So let's see, do we have our validatable object in there? So we have our class, implement this interface to validate. Then we can actually go validation context dot what's in here, display name, items, instance, type. Okay, well, that's interesting. What's this overloads? Alright, we have the context. How do we create a context? We can give it, I see, expand on this context. I can, there's a service provider as well, so I can inject my my things in there that I want. That's quite cool. So there's, if we can get this to a validation, it will be great. Let's just do. Oh shit. Oh, excuse the language. Do that. That should be fine. I completely lost touch of reality right now. So in hindsight, we have a new customer. We just also need to map it. Introduce automapper to map DTO to domain and vice versa. And that is it. This other stuff will wrap under the rug, so to speak. That's the create customer. And then what is in the get single customer? Yeah, same thing. So yeah, actually validate if it contains a tenant ID, and if it exists, then I basically go and get a dynamic binding. So this is how you do dynamic bindings. You go and create a table attribute, you call it something, on customers, and you pass in your ID and your tenant ID, and then you bind that attribute using the binder. And the binder you just inject into your function. That will bind the table to the custom entity. So now we have an instance of a entity in a table. Now I can basically say if it's null, I can do stuff like this, or if it's not null, I can just return it. Actually want to add proper to-do logic here to keep track of what we're trying to do. Actually a much bigger job than I thought initially. Is there a shortcut that we can actually do to-dos? Okay. Great, so I think that is it for now. Let's commit our changes. Feel free to comment on my stuff. And please subscribe to my channel on Finally Renderers and at Finally Renderers. I suppose I think there was one thing missing. Let me just see. I think not all my videos. Oh, actually, it's working. It's quite cool. Right. So let's say edit validation. Okay, I'm going to commit that. I'm going to push that outside. And I want to wish you guys not the studio. I want to wish you guys a fabulous weekend. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel, like I said, and follow me on Twitter at Finally Renderers. And do check out our SDN cast every weekday. It's Dutch though, but I'm trying. Every Thursday at 8 o'clock. Weekly, we have a Dutch webcast. And every Wednesday I will be doing, or trying to be doing at least, live coding. And Martin van Stam, other good friend of mine, he'll be doing some office development. I think that's on Tuesdays or Mondays, I'm not sure. It's either Tuesday or Monday. And then we're trying to convince also our friend Gerald to do some Xamarin or mobile developments, just to get an even stream across the week. But nevertheless, thank you guys for watching. This time everything went well. I'm gonna go have a beer now. Cheerio and bye.